Another change in immigration policy. Undocumented immigrants who marry an American citizen are no longer protected against deportation automatically. Rajiv Khanna is an immigration attorney in Washington, D.C. Welcome.
Thank you.
What has changed for undocumented immigrants trying to get a green card through marriage?
The biggest problem is that we do not have an infrastructure where we can trust the regulations that are already in place will not be violated by the government itself. For instance, the USCIS regulations provide a very set, definite path for those people who are undocumented but through marriage are trying to regularize their status. USCIS is the benefits wing of the government, of DHS, which gives you the benefits that you seek. ICE is the enforcement wing. So ACLU has said it very, very nicely. They said, while one hand of the government beckons you forward, the other hand comes and grabs you.
Okay, describe how that works, because if you are an undocumented immigrant and you are trying to marry an American citizen, there's a process, and at the end of that process, you're supposed to go for an in-person interview with this other side of immigration, not the enforcement side, but the benefit side, as you described. What does that look like?
There are when you start the decision tree of processing green card for somebody who's undocumented, your first step of the analysis is, did you enter USA legally or did you enter without inspection? If you entered legally, things are a lot more simple, because even if you stayed here for an indefinite amount of time, if you are married to a U.S. citizen, it's a bona fide marriage, you will get your green card without too much trouble. If you entered USA illegally, we look at three things actually. Are there any other problems in your background? For example, have you been ordered deported earlier? Number two, do you have any criminal issues or any other issues? And number three, if everything else is clean, you entered without authorization, did you continue to stay in the United States illegally for at least a year? In that case, you are barred from entering the USA for 10 years. But for all these exigencies, there is a provision in the law that would provide you some kind of relief. And the problem is government, instead of allowing us to go through the whole process of relief, is coming and grabbing people in the middle of the process and trying to deport them. I want to take 1 minute and give you an example from Boston.
Okay.
The case of Lillian Caldera. This lady was brought into the United States when she was 3 years old. When she was 15, her father's application for asylum was denied, so there was an order of removal entered against all the family members. So she has an order of removal pending. She gets married to her high school sweetheart. They have 2 U.S. Citizen children. She's 30 years old. She goes to regularize her process, which is allowed under the law. ICE comes and arrests her. So the regulations are clear. We have a process. Why is ICE arresting people in the middle of a legal process? ACLU, thank God for them, immediately stepped in. They filed a writ of habeas corpus. They got her out of the detention. They started off with a lawsuit against the government against this violation of their own regulations, which has now become, as of April 10th, a class action lawsuit pending in the federal court in Boston.
And what is the general complaint? What is the argument on the part of the plaintiffs in this class action lawsuit?
The government is not following its own regulations.
And
it's violating its own regulations.
And that is to let the process play out and not immediately deport someone.
That is exactly correct.
What about the argument that, well, they are here illegally? And yes, that is a terrible story that you just told about Lillian Caldera, but the law is the law. She was here illegally, and the law says you have to be deported if you're here illegally.
That is wonderfully stated. I couldn't have stated this proposition better myself. I should tell the administration the law is the law. You made the law. You have to follow the law. If you don't like the law, change it according to the law. Don't change it, as you were saying, by fiat.
All right. And so when we're talking about this change, it only applies to people, as you say, who entered the country illegally, that did not overstay a legally granted visa. That's a different situation.
That is correct, but under the current administration's policies, it has become very difficult as Immigration Counsel advisors and lawyers to advise people if there is any path which is clear of obstacles. Government has become unruly in its own enforcement. It is impossible to predict whether all these avenues that we always thought were avenues clearly available to us are now indeed so. That is the biggest problem. Rule of law has gone out the window.
So if you had a client who is trying to get married to an American citizen and it all seems above board, they truly are in love and want to get married for other reasons other than a citizenship, would you advise your client now not to go for that final interview because they might be arrested by ICE agents at that interview?
I would have a very tough time giving them a clear answer to their questions about whether this is a safe process or not. All I would be able to do is to tell them, look, this is what the law says. Government can break the law because it is the government. However, we still have the judicial branch of the government working effectively. I can always file a writ of habeas corpus and try to get you out of their detention, but I cannot say that you can step into USCIS offices with confidence and not have any.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there, not have any problems. Okay, Rajiv Khanna, immigration attorney in Washington, D.C., thank you very much for joining us today.
Every other Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host free community conference calls. Everybody is welcome to join. Some people post questions ahead of time. You can take membership in our forums. All of the details are there on our website, immigration.com. You can take membership ahead of time, and it's instantaneous. It happens right away. And post your questions beforehand, or you can just log in. The phone number and all are provided: 202-800-8394, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time every other Thursday. We have free apps for both Apple iOS platform for your iPhones and iPads, as well as for Android. Just look for immigration.com, the period dot, and the application should show up.